Alrighty, good morning everyone. The date today, 21st of May, 2026, 8:30 here in Milan. So the first thing we're gonna have a quick look at is news. Nothing too of, in my opinion, of any great importance, regardless of it being highlighted as red. Of course, with red folder news, protect your positions. These types of news, as I said, it's not NFP. Therefore, I'm not too inclined to be out of positions in the entirety, but certainly I wouldn't be looking to enter positions around these areas. But nevertheless, it's a good 6 hours away from now. So that's what we got in terms of news. Now, today, the DXY, let's have a look to see what we got. Higher time frame pretty much unchanged. That weekly 50 May still rejecting the higher time frame weekly order book. Most recent daily candles, they haven't really done too much, but what it has done is seeking to provide us with a decent looking trading range between those 2 4 hour order blocks. So we did get a move out of that 15-minute or out of the session high yesterday, which was good to see. And then price came in down towards this 15-minute order block, gave us that rejection. I believe it's still available, therefore it's still going to be the best area. Let's say if the DXY pulls down to that area on the 15-minute time frame, then of course I'd be looking for an immediate type of rejection on that lower time frame, seek to go over to the cross pairs, and then I'll have a look in terms of that DXY strength coming out of the market from there to see if any weakness will be shown on GU, AU, or EU for good example, or a potential long there on US dollar CAD. So we'll have a look at that across the pairs. So that's what I've got really on the DXY. The 4 hour 50 minute is slightly creeping up as well, really supporting that long position from these lows. So I hope that it takes a little bit longer for price to come down to this area, which will give time for the EMA to come up to support this position a little bit better. But until then, as you can see, there's definitely liquidity in that area. Price is pushed off from it and it even failed to tap it. Therefore, when price gets down there, of course, I am going to be looking for a rejection. In the immediacy, a bit of a half kind of area is not really supported by any EMA, excuse me, any higher time frame order blocks at all. It is just a 15-minute order block at this stage that we've seen a reaction through Asia. So we'll just have to see again if price comes down to this area. I'll be looking for a rejection for a potential position on the cross pairs. But more often than not, I'd like to see price actually break up, then pull back down, lower time frame break for a long for that area to be confirmed as a high probable point of interest. So that's a DXY, bigger picture stuff. We'll find down to the 15-minute. GCAD, I don't mind GCAD at all. Looking at GCAD for potential shorts. Yesterday I took a short position on AU, which was a sell limit, and also a short position on GU, which ended out break even. So up at these highs, am I interested in the sell limit? Well, I haven't really taken a deep look into it myself just yet to understand if it's worth a sell limit, but initial thought process is yes. If I'm wrong in these elements, look at the 4 hour time frame, I'm going to be pretty much wrong for a duration of time because if price breaks above that 4 hour order block, then I'm pretty much going to have to wait for those highs or any other area in the market that really shows itself. However, from this area, the only other point of interest in terms of the short scenario is coming right up at the highs. So immediately, this is shining for me for a potential sell limit. What I will have a look at before I make that decision is all the other potential pairs out there. But at the moment, as you can see, price in and around that daily order block, rejecting it to the downside, had a good rejection yesterday by wick to the high. Price did still close bullish, but nevertheless, we are still above, or we have closed below, rather, the daily 50 MA, which was very important. Hence why this limit order now, or that position in any scenario, becomes a very nice type of position. So, of course, the best elements to be waiting for, price starts to print up. And then you can identify the most recent higher low, break that higher low by way of bearish engulfing candle or just a basic trending market towards the downside. Don't feel that you are no longer able to catch that position if that happens. All what that is price actually showing you your setup. Then you'll wait for price to come back into a 50-minute order block and then short that down. So of course the daily 50 MA is on side, so don't be disheartened by trading towards that. But one thing I must mention is now the 4 hour 50 MA is a clear target by way of price actually breaking above it and we rejected it immediately, and we started pushing towards the upside. So GCAD is looking great for shorts. I've got an alert as price starts to come into that 4 hour order block, and really that's for me to decide at that stage whether or not it's going to be a sell limit or whether or not I'd like to wait for something more concrete. Anything more concrete than the sell limit can even be an aggressive 1 minute break of structure. For me, I'm quite comfortable taking sell limits, so anything more restrictive than that, I'm also happy to take. So yeah, GCAD at the moment looks like a very nice short opportunity. In terms of the longs, well, I'm not really seeing any real areas for the long position. I'm quite reluctant to just start placing 4 hour order blocks in the middle of these areas, looking for price to reject those areas. Of course, any order block is going to give you a rejection, but it's the amount of rejection of which we're looking for, and those are most likely best coming from the highs and lows of the market, and particularly coming from refined areas from the daily order block, of which this particular order block up at the highs is a short position from a higher time frame order block by way of the daily. So GCAD is getting a firm green light, as you already see here for me today, and I've got my alerts according. If price then breaks down before coming up to those highs, then it'd be one to consider whether or not that break, we can have a break and close below the 4 hour 50 EMA. If we get that, then of course I'll be looking in and around these areas to see if we have an order block to look to short down. But if we don't get a break below that 4 hour 50 EMA, or I'm going to see that as a deeper pullback in line with structure. So we've got that higher high, higher low potential, higher high we haven't yet made yet. So therefore, if we do get this move down towards the 4 hour 50 MA, it's not necessarily going to be a break of structure for a pullback short. It's just going to be a higher low for a higher high continuation. So be very careful in those areas. Really make sure you've had that, or you've got that break below, close below the 4 hour 50 MA before looking to short in these areas, as opposing to waiting for those highs. So that's GCAT. GJ, GJ's been a bit of a pain, really. Haven't managed to grab much of GJ since I've been trading it. Kind of a step behind GJ at the moment, but it's more of a tentative approach, just waiting for the setups to occur. Any setup, that is. I'm still actively trading GJ in line with everything that I know, just applying myself to GJ in the full capacity. This area at the moment, as I've zoomed out, you can exactly see why this 15-minute point of interest is definitely a point of interest from this area, or what you could say is at least from this area in its entirety. Price then made a low from that market. Therefore, after a low, prices come right back up, looking for reaction. Nothing immediate just yet. But what I am looking for is some confirmation before looking to go short. Don't have that yet. I would like a bearish engulfing candle for me to start building that foundation up again. Of course, this is a very old 15-minute order block, despite it, of course, causing that push in the market. So first and foremost, I'd like to identify some structure points in the market. And then if I can see price break that and then pull back, then I'll be looking for that short position straight away on GJ this morning. So GJ, I like. If you look over to the daily time frame, or even the 4 hour time frame, what I'll do, I'll place the session highs on all intervals. You can see these daily highs here, those wick to those highs. So of course, just using prior price action and understanding what's going on, prices of looking to it's failing rather to break and close those above those areas. Of course, that is in a session high, and then what supports that session high is the fact that price is printing away from it. So session highs, I don't take those immediately because, of course, like retail traders, everyone is looking at these areas, looking to short immediately in terms of support and resistance. And more often than not, you will get that manipulation above. It's not even manipulation. It's just the fact that it's so easy for any type of institution to recognize that there are sellers in the market at that areas. So of course, they would give the sellers what they wish, push price down, flush price to the high, stop those out. The breakout traders will then join the party, and then price will move down to the downside. That's where we get our bearish 15-minute engulfing candle, and then wait for price to pull back and execute accordingly. So that's GJ. Of course, up at those highs, best case scenario, that's here. That area is refined as well. Once we start to look at the reasons for that, then you go to the 4 hour time frame. We can say that we were in a range up until these points, to be honest. And I still think price could well be in the range, but in case I am wrong, I'd like to attack GJ in case it's not a range and we aren't going to fill those highs. As a result of that, what I saw was price finally broke and closed below these areas in the market that price was failing to do so. Therefore, what I assume, or what I presume I should say, is we've now made a low from that area, or at least up at this area as well. So price will come back for that lower low, lower high continuation. So we'll have to have a look at that. So I like GJ, just have to see how it plays. I wouldn't be surprised at all if GJ was to pop up slightly, even fail to make this area, then give us that move, pull back, then I'll look for the short. Alternatively, as I've mentioned, up at those highs for the best case scenario. Would that be a sell limit? Well, if you compare GJ to the first pair of GCAD, I have ample reasons to be wrong here on GCAD. Excuse me, on GJ. I can see if I take a sell limit from here, I'm exposed straight away to a much better area up at the highs by way of wick imbalance caused on that weekly time frame as well. So this will not be a type of sell limit that I'll be looking to take today, but I will be aggressive in terms of my confirmation that I'm looking for. And of course, I'll take GJ shorts, no problem at all. In terms of the long scenario, as I've mentioned on, I think it was GCAD, yeah, there isn't too many areas of which I'd like to take a long. If we do get a break and close above this area in the 4 hour time frame, then perhaps what I would be looking to do is add that 4 hour order block in and around that region. I'll just check the EMAs to double check whether that makes sense. Of course, above the 4 hour order block, excuse me, above the 4 hour 50 EMA, we are. So, of course, expect a rejection from that. However, dependent on how soon or late that comes, most recent, no, I keep thinking about GCAD, aren't I? Yeah, so we have closed above on the daily time frame, above that daily 50 MA. So that could well be a decent area to look for rejection from, rejecting the daily 50 MA towards the upside based on that previous daily candle closing bullish. So it looks good. Of course, price is above the 4 hour 50 MA, rejecting to the upside. Of course, that also looks good. So yeah, potentially if I can get a reason to place this 4 hour order block in that area, I mean, for now, I'll keep it on there to understand when price gets back, what is price doing in and around those areas. But as you can see, it's quite a tight range from where we are already. So we'll have a look at it. I've got an alert above that 4 hour 50 MA anyway. So if that goes off, then I'll have a look to refine that area down, which at the moment, where are we? Yeah, I wouldn't really be wanting to take a position, or in fact, I wouldn't want to take a position like this at all in the middle of a Asia range scenario where we can see that Asia range is definitely still available to the low. So that exposes me quite a lot to taking a long position from here, particularly if we don't get a break and close above, if we don't get a break of structure towards the highs and pull back. So yeah, it looks like a half decent area, but it hasn't proven itself just yet. And I do not like taking positions with from order blocks when you're so close to Asia being filled. Knowing what we know about Asia's want to be filled, then of course that becomes quite a risky position. And this is printing a lovely candle at the moment on GJ. So I appreciate you guys watching this. It's slightly later than these moves are developing, but just understand the thought process going on behind it. And that's what we'll be looking to do all the time. So that's GJ for now. Shorts are my bias, longs can be considered. AUs, have a look at AU. For some reason, that's got a green line. Okay, so we took a nice short limit order on AU yesterday. That played out nicely, just under 4%. Close that down by the daily 50 EMA. That take profit was already in the market. So that was automatic while I was sleeping like a baby. So nevertheless, what do we have as we get to the charts today? Of course, I am still very much so sell bias as a result of this higher time frame weekly order block. The higher we come within that weekly order block, the better the short position. However, the daily time frame is really the nice kind of confirmation. We've finally broken close below that daily 50 EMA. The once, of course, looking at the daily time frame only, we're printing those highs. This is no longer a higher low, in my opinion. This is now a break of structure, first low, looking for the lower high before that low continuation. Of course, price may well not pull back up to this daily order block. So that's why we'll start refining down to our 4 hour time frame to understand how is price action acting around those areas. So yesterday's 4 hour order block, it's still in the market. So that was the entry here, I believe. Let's have a look. Let's move that across. So we've got, yeah, around about 3 or 4 o'clock is when I entered that short position. Where is it? That was the wick there. Yeah, so 4 yesterday was a short position entry via limit. Nevertheless, we'll start moving on. So I've still got that 4 hour order block in on the market. What I can look to do is to make that slightly smaller because that's been used. So technically, the 4 hour order block, there isn't too much reason why price should want to come back to that area. Let's have a look. And we'll start moving with price action to see newer areas. So 4 hour order block not available. Certainly one is available here. So we'll have a look at where that lies in the market. Okay, perfect. Within that 4 hour order block we've just identified, we've got that 15-minute order block that we had pre-identified anyway. I like the move coming out of that order block. What we can say in immediacy is that we have broken immediate structure points, nothing too in depth. Of course, we'd love to see price start breaking these lows and then coming back for the best type of selling opportunity. Nevertheless, the worst case scenario, price just comes right back. We're looking for that bearish engulfing candle, lower time frame break of structure, and a continued short position. The only caveat to that, unfortunately, yesterday's daily candle closed bullish above the daily 50 MA. So our targets are quite refined, if not already rejecting those targets by way of the daily 50 MA. So it's an annoying approach. Perhaps if we do get a nice closure below the daily 50 MA today, then tomorrow will pave the way for a really nice looking short opportunity by way of now on side with all EMAs and just looking for that lower low, lower high, lower low continuation type of format coming out of the market. So for today, AU looks not as good as it looked yesterday. As you can imagine, my position yesterday, I was looking to reject that daily 50 MA toward the downside as a result of Monday's previous candle close. No, what day was that? Tuesday, sorry. Closure below. And then, of course, yesterday, it was just perfect. The higher price printed above that daily 50 MA, the better looking it was for the rejection towards the downside. So that's always, you always have to keep that in mind if you're trading the type of method that I am. So would I take a short position? I absolutely still would. But as I said, got to be very mindful of the fact I'm looking to reject that daily 50 MA to the day. Of course, my forecast and preference would be that price breaks and closes below that daily 50 MA for the day. But I have to roll with what's happening most recently. And unfortunately, yesterday's daily candle printed bullish after all. So it is what it is. We'll look for the confirmation short and see if we have a good enough range to get towards break even by the time price hits that daily 50 MA. Hopefully it hasn't, well, already looking to reject it now for the day. So let's say if the day is starting to make, it's made its high already, it's now in a phase of making its low, there is every potential that price action now. So let's say I'm drawing the daily candle. It opened this morning, it made its high, it's now pushed bearish, made its low, rejecting the daily 50 MA. So then if it pushes back up for the entry, perhaps it will have a bit of a close towards this area. So it looks okay at the moment, AU. Certainly not my favorite at the minute based on that higher time frame daily candle closure of yesterday. But nevertheless, if we head to the 4 hour time frame, it's looking nice. Got that break of structure. Price is developing nicely. You've had the low of the market, lower high, lower low, which confirm that lower high, and price is just trending beautifully in terms of basic patterns, basic lower lows and lower highs coming out of the market. So it looks good in terms of the 4 hour time frame. And then when you refine that area down, the only valid 15-minute order block is that area that was refined within this newest 4 hour order block anyway. The only thing that I am a bit cautious of is this wick, the wick that I gained entry on, that provides now imbalance towards the highs which should then take price down back to the lows. So I'm pretty sure, going to be a 1 minute order block right up at these highs. Hence why, if you are going to look to take this position, I would be suggesting confirmation first and foremost, because the worst thing you'd want to do, enter a sell position, price pops down towards a little bit in profit, then heads up to that session high, and then gives you a full confirmation bearish engulfing candle pullback, and then off you go. So bit tentative with AU. I like the setup. The alerts are up at the highs and just down below in case we get a break of structure, like so. Oops, wrong one. In case we get a break of structure, pull back, then this area for me becomes more of a valid shorting area. So we'll just have to see if price is going to start breaking structure points first and foremost, or the worst case scenario where price just comes back and then fills you with the questions, well, I haven't broken structure, what do I do? Just revert to your highest level of entry criteria, and that should give you a good opportunity to move to break even at least. So that's AU. Don't mind AU at all. EU, very similar. Let me just check the daily 15. Yeah, very similar, but on a lot better looking on the higher time frames. We'll start from the higher time frame, weekly time frame. What we have, that weekly order block pretty much unchanged from yesterday, looking for price to pull up, and then we'll be just shorting alongside that weekly order block, and then take price down to that weekly 50 mate for the full target. Now, the most recent for daily candle closures, they are closing in a good fashion, i.e., they're not just stagnant in a row. We are clearly making those lower lows and lower highs, and that's depicted over here on the 4 hour time frame. So again, EU haven't managed to get in a position of EU. We had a very similar wick into the area, 15-minute order block, just like on AE yesterday, and we didn't get such of the move away. So obviously, euro is a lot stronger than the Aussie dollar at the moment, but nevertheless, 4 hour order block. It is an older one. Haven't been able to put a new 4 hour order block in the market, as a result of there haven't been any real 4 hour candle movements at the moment. We're just getting a nice little range being developed. Put that on the 15-minute time frame, and that's all the movement we've had, for, let's have a look, since, well, that would have been yesterday midday. So yeah, not too much going on AU. However, with that said, we'll back ourselves with the trend. So we've got lower low, which broke structure to the left. I zoom out and you can have a look at that. Lower low, lower high, lower low creating the market, coming up for that lower high, for that lower low continuation. So EU is definitely a position that I'd like to get into at some stage. Haven't really identified the ways in which I can just yet, because this 15-minute order block, I have just placed it in on a market, but even in terms of structure points, we've not done anything just yet. And that's what I mean by waiting for your confirmation. You can get your best confirmation or your most aggressive confirmation. So your best confirmation, of course, will come from price breaking structure points, pulling back up into the area, and then you're absolutely free to take that position as you wish. Again, the only caveat to that is we have this area in the market, session high area, where of course there will definitely be lower time frame imbalance within that area. So the risk is all yours to take if you feel to do so. Whether or not you can have your stop loss cover that, but again, we've got Asia range to the highs. That is potentially a bit of a conflict that you may have the expectation that Asia range is going to be looking to fill. And then with that said, that would align perfectly with that 4 hour 50 EMA as well. So nothing in a hurry for me with EU, despite wanting to jump in on that trade. I can see a bit, excuse me, a couple too many reasons where I could look to lose that trade. So what I'd be inclined to do, first and foremost, wait for this break of structure, then pull back, lower time frame break of structure by way of 15-minute bearish engulfing candle from here, and then I'll wait for a 1 minute shift after that, pull back, then I'll take the short, and I'll just have to trust my analysis on that one and not really think about those highs that are probably likely to be filled, I must admit. Or anything else for that matter. So EU, I don't mind it. Whereas the alerts at the moment, so I've got an alert as it approaches that 15-minute order block, and I'll just bring this alert slightly higher for when we start to break structure. So that's EU in terms of the short positions. In terms of the longs, don't really think a long is gonna make too much sense based on what price action is doing. We're having every indication that we are bearish. Look at the daily time frame moving to those lows. 4 hour time frame is indicating lower lows and lower highs. I think at this stage of the week, it will make sense just to try and trade in line with what the overall trend is doing. And of course, there's no hiding that we can see it's very much so bearish. So therefore, wait for the bearishness to kick in on the lower time frames, which to be fair, we've definitely got some indication, of course, of that as well. But in terms of this move, that's why I'm quite reluctant to jump in anything sooner than we've got a break of structure to identify that this 15-minute area in the market can be a valid point of interest. So expectations is up here. Happy to take a short from here so long as I get a break of structure at some point, followed by a 15-minute bearish engulfing candle. So that's the plan with EU for me today. GU, GU. So yeah, I took a half decent trade on GU yesterday. Had that lower time frame shift from point of interest. Got in. We had the no, I think that was it was GU, or was it AU? Let's have a look. EU or AU. It was GU for sure. We had the lower time frame shift, but it wasn't to be. So therefore, well, it definitely doesn't look like GU. I'm pretty sure it was EU. Nevertheless, GU today, it looks okay in my opinion, but I'm going to revert to the best opportunities here because, well, let's have a look first and foremost to see what I'm looking at. Where are we? So the weekly time frame, no weekly order block to look to manipulate. That's right up at the highs. The thing that I do like is price broke that weekly 50 made to the downside. So the further price pushes up, we're going to have that comfort or the confluence that price is going to want to look to push to the downside for the week. And it's our job to find the liquidity above it to then be happy to trade from it down towards our 50 EMA. So refine that area or refining areas down or trying to find those points. The daily 50 EMA, the daily order block. The only daily order block that, in my opinion, is available is the one we've got highlighted here. Once we superimpose that on the 4-hour time frame, we're here in that best type of area where, again, I'd be happy to take a sell limit from that area, providing that there's nothing else in the market that looks half decent enough for me to trade. So daily 50 MA price is looking good, rejecting it to the downside. So that's all good news. So hopefully, if we can have price on this today's daily candle start pushing up, and of course we'll have the confidence that we're looking to reject it for the day and currently within the 4-hour time frame as well. So if we are to get a big 4-hour candle that looks like, let's say, this one, or even better still, this one, what I can look to do is measure that 4-hour candle to see if the thought process is realistic. So if we can have a 4-hour candle that's around 70 pips, where will that take us? Perfectly into our best case scenario, and then we'll be looking for a short from there. So it's not unheard of. It definitely can happen. It's proven it on GU. Do get those big 4-hour candles. So hopefully if we get one of those today within that 4-hour time frame, with still time remaining of that 4-hour to close before it closes above, before the candle closes above that 4-hour 50 MA, let's say even from here, for example, if price rockets up, we'll still, let's say, have at least an hour and a half or an hour before this 4-hour candle closes. That gives you all the confidence then to seek that rejection from that best looking scenario. So GU's looking all right for the shorts. In terms of the long, I can't disregard the longs because what I am seeing is bullish price action pretty much from the start of the week, in fairness. We started off bullish and we've just remained in terms of most recent price action. If we forget the price to the left now, for example, we go higher high, higher low, higher high. So it's difficult to forget that. However, longer term, you can quite clearly see that this is the low, and we are simply looking to find that lower high for that lower low continuation. So that's my thought process. I'm looking to seek that lower high for the lower low, as opposing to trying to take long positions, which I must say do look fairly good. We had this session low on the market yesterday and didn't really get the incentive to take the long from it, I must admit. I'll be looking more so for a bullish engulfing candle to have come out of that market low, which I didn't get. Just like what I'm looking for, let's say on GJ at the moment, bearish engulfing candle pullback. I didn't have it. I had this bullish engulfing candle here. marked the order block off, but the price never came back. So that's really what I'm looking for, a real move out of session highs and lows, allow me then to select an order block, and then I can look for a short, well, in this case would be a long position out. Even that would have been good enough, for example, but it wasn't in the trading day. That was overnight. So that's hence why I missed that a couple of days ago. But yeah, as price develops, the session low just becomes more and more obvious. And when price gets back to it, you want to be taking a position. So the long on the session low, I already see an opportunity for an Asia range first and foremost. So even if you forget about the session low and Asia range, the question is why. So we made a high from this area, for example, or a high was created, price come back down for whatever reason. We made that higher high. Can I credit that higher low situation to a particular 15-minute order block? Yes, I can very clearly at the low. So therefore, once price gets back down, I'll be looking for that 1 minute break of structure from that area, and I'll be looking to take that long back up to fill Asia, providing that Asia is still available. On the other side, then of course the best looking scenario, have that break above, pull back into the area, lower time frame break, then I'll be looking for that long position as well, alongside the session low, alongside that 15-minute order block. I think that makes good sense to take a long position. The only caveat, of course, again, 4 hour order block prices rejecting it to the highs, daily, excuse me, 4 hour 50 MA price rejecting it to the highs. So your target is exactly where Asia range would be looking to fill anyway. So I've got good confidence to hold my position towards that area and good confidence to trade towards that area, manage it, and I would be removing all profits from the market by the time price gets there anyway. And just to have a little measure on the range, is it possible? So GU be looking at 10 to 15 pips maximum, and the range is going to be towards there. So straight away it's looking good, and then with that I'd be able to extend my stop loss slightly better. So hopefully the lower time frame break of structure brings us slightly deeper within that 15-minute order block, and then you'll be able to cover those session lows again before you wait for that 1 minute break of structure. So that is GU in all its capacity, looking for the long, and then right up at these highs, looking for a nice looking short if price is looking to get there. In the immediacy, that's what I've got. No other order block that I can look to manipulate to short anytime sooner, I'm afraid. But as we say, price is searching for that lower low, lower high on the higher time frames. And of course, at the moment, looking at the 4 hour, we're higher high, higher low, and pushing up. So it makes good sense for price in any case to take a move to the downside from this area, even if I'm completely wrong and price just makes a high. Of course, after a high, what are we expecting? A higher low. We would trade that higher low in the anticipation, in fact, that it is just a lower high. So it's a good reason to take a short position from that area. So again, could that be a sell limit? I'd say so. Like always, just have to understand what price is going to do on other pairs that may make a little bit more sense. Now I've got my love, just amended it slightly below the 4 hour order block, just to give myself a chance whether or not I want to take that as a limit or not. So that is GU, US dollar CAD. What do you have for US dollar CAD? Well, I kind of like US dollar CAD's all right. Reason being, weekly order block, weekly 50 MA looking to short out of it. Most recent price action daily candles are not doing anything at all, nothing at all. But what they are doing is rejecting those highs, which is kind of getting me a little bit tempted to take the short from the highs. But I do need to see a high degree of confidence before I want to take that type of position. So my thought process yesterday that we were in a range, potentially now we've broken out of that range, and you guys know how I like to how I like to approach the range. It would be have the range, wait for a 4 hour candle to break out, pull back into an area of interest before looking to go long. It looks like that's happened, but there wasn't a 4 hour order block that I could have looked to have taken a position from anyway. And to be honest, US dollar CAD wasn't a favorite for me to look to long in any case. So nevertheless, can I identify a potential area where I could look for a short position? That's what I'm thinking of at the moment, only based on the fact that we could be looking to reject that weekly 50 MA. But with that said, if I bring up the 15-minute time frame a lot clearer for us now, it still doesn't look great, does it? I mean, looking at other trending pairs that we've already discussed, US dollar CAD, it's not really giving trade me, trade me, trade me. However, what I have understood is if I can get some structural breaks in the market and understand what's going on today, for example. So let's say even yesterday, price came in beautifully to that 15-minute order block that was refined within the four, and we had that move to the downside. Unfortunately, that move didn't break key structure points, which I really would have liked to have seen. If we have broke that area and then price comes back up to here today, this becomes a really nice looking move. However, all we've done is just fill the range. So I'm inclined to pull that across, but what I'm going to do is just understand that, okay, it is there. Potentially, I could be right, could be wrong. If it is the range, and I need to understand that I can't take this as an immediate position because I know what ranges are likely to happen. A push up. Well, first of all, you'll be happy that you're into profit, stopped out, buyers take it higher, bearish engulfing candle, and off you go to the races. So therefore, I'm quite tentative with US dollar CAD at the moment. Want to see some structure breaks. I'll be happy if price moves without me first and foremost, and I'll just be patient enough to see if price comes back for that short position. Would I be taking any immediate positions from this 15-minute order block? Absolutely not. There's just no reason to do so at the moment. As I've said, price hasn't given us that kind of break of that key structure point for me to really identify this as a 15-minute valid order block at this stage. I mean, it certainly has done something, but it's only done something in a range, in my opinion. So if I lead with the most restrictive type of trading, which would be, well, I've identified a range until proven otherwise, then I'll lead with that. The fact that price didn't break that is just telling me, well, we are just still stuck in the range, and perhaps the highs of my range need to be amended slightly. So that's what I've got for UCAD at the moment. Nothing too concrete. Of course, I've got an alert at that 15-minute order block, and I've got an alert down by this structure point, and I'll put another alert just here in case I'm out, and we do get that break, then I'll be happy to take the pullback short, so long as the DXY looks as if it's in a nice area to provide that weakness. So depending on where the DXY wants to go today, is it going to come down first of all to give us that DXY weakness immediately for then the strength to kick in, or will it give us the strength immediately for the weakness to kick in? We'll just have to have a look and see what's going to go on. Alerts are everywhere, and I'll just add another one in. And then UJ as a final pair, UJ, UJ, UJ. UJ, to be honest, there's only one position that I'd be comfortable taking on UJ, and that is along from this 15-minute order block, so long as I have confirmation at that 15-minute order block. Now, the reason why UJ is not really present, in fact, we're in a higher time frame weekly order block, so I've definitely missed that. So higher time frame weekly order block, looking for price to pull out short from that order block. So would that make sense based on our thought process of the DXY? Well, if the DXY looks to roll short down to these areas, that could play well. So back to UJ, weekly order block looking to roll short, daily time frame, refine within that weekly order block. Let me just pop that on for a moment. Okay, so we're in it. We're in that. No daily order block at the moment within that area. So that daily order block is slightly higher. So we've got every opportunity to anticipate price will want to pop up into that daily order block before then looking for the short, which means the DXY then, potential move for the DXY today is actually looking to go long first and foremost. Yeah, let's say if the dollar is being represented by UJ, which to be honest, now, the yen and the dollar are having more of the fight at the moment, and the yen is clearly losing at the minute. But yeah, I can see then price pushing up into that daily order block, then looking for the rejection short from it, which would be quite nice. And if I'll have to start refining areas down, which I should have done, perfect. Higher time frame refined all the way down. You can see just there, 4-hour order block right up at the highs is where we want to be. That for me would be a potential limit order. Absolutely. There's kind of no reason why I wouldn't want to be shorting from as excuse me, from as high as I possibly can. So with that said, blimey, I've done some good work in advance. 15-minute order block also refined. I'm zooming out so you guys can see the distance that we still need to go. So I've got a couple of alerts there. I'll move it slightly higher, but in terms of anything else, so I can't take a hard time from directional position into the longs as a result of already being in that weekly order block. But what I am able to do is take an Asia range position, which let's have a look. Let's bring it up slightly bigger. And it's the final pair. Let's see if that looks good. So a high in the market was most certainly created. Can I really accredit that high from this 15-minute order block? It's difficult to say, I must admit, because if I give you that to the left, just to look at it visually, I can't really guarantee price action in terms of. So what I am trying to identify is that's a high. Here's the higher low for the higher high. I think UJ is just going to be one of those that I'm probably going to skip even in terms of the Asia range. I've seen much cleaner Asia range positions for sure. The short position's definitely up there as a nice looking short. But in terms of taking longs to just kind of jump on what's going on up to the highs, I can't see anything just yet. Even if I put in a 4 hour order book, the first thing I'm reluctant to do always is just put them in. But what I can see at the minute, if I just give us a nice box like so. So I can see clear lows in the market that are failing to break and close above, clear highs in the market that are failing really to break and close above. So at the minute, I'm just seeing it like this. And then with that said, what I'll be looking to identify then is can I get a bullish 4 hour candle closure above? After that higher, then I expect a higher low for maybe that higher high continuation. I think that would be the better play. But then with that said, I'm operating in a weekly order block. Oh, yeah, I definitely am. So I won't be able to take long positions based on that concept anyway. But for you guys on the lower time frames, if you do get that bullish 4 hour candle above, you'll have a nice looking trend on the 15-minute time frame that will start to make more sense than this. So as opposed to just this at the moment, that 4 hour candle closing above is going to do something like that, which will bring this area into good realm or potentially slightly higher like that. So that's what I got for you, Jay. Although I wouldn't take a long position myself, I can understand if you guys watch this, why it would make absolute sense to take it if you're not taking in consideration that higher time frame weekly order block. So that's what I've got, team. I'll get this out to you sooner rather than later. There was an Asia range on here that I did see, but I feel like I've not mentioned it. Where are we? Where are we? Asia range. No, not there. EU, no, it wasn't EU. Ah, GU. Yeah, GU Asia range. Not sure if yeah, we did speak about it. There we go, Asia range. Cool. So I'll leave it like that, team. Thank you very much. You guys have a lovely trading day and a good Thursday. Take care. Speak to you soon. Charles.